For the last 20 years, Dacia have conquered the B segment in cars, passenger cars in Europe and beyond. They have a customer base of 9 million people, which is pretty handy when you want to go back to them and say, would you like to buy another car? But here's another interesting fact about Dacia. 50% of their sales are conquest sales, which essentially means it's someone who was in another car brand and came to a showroom, had a look around and liked what they saw. 4 years ago, Dacia said they were going to now try and conquer the C SUV segment, and that's what this car is, the Dacia Bigster. Welcome to Nobby on Cars. Let's take a look around. These Y design headlights complete the kind of mid-upper section of the car. This is a vehicle that is bigger than the Duster in pretty much every way except width, and certainly in boot. So dimension-wise, there's all the details on screen now, which hopefully helps you figure out, well, will it fit in my driveway, my apartment, parking space, whichever is important to you. So this is 20% recycled materials. In fact, 20% of the car is recycled. There's little speckles inside this. Now, we haven't, it's not the first time this has been displayed in Dacia products. The new Duster also has this. And it's a more robust material, but also it means that if you do get scuffed or you hit this material off something else in a car park, it's the same color underneath, so it shouldn't be as noticeable. There's 3 different trim levels. Some will have copper inserts in the car in many different points, including inside, and as you can see on the mirror housing on this vehicle. Up to 19-inch alloy wheels available, which kind of seems mad saying this for a Dacia. There is a 4x4 option. All engines are hybrid of some form, 48 volt, and then just under 2 kilowatt hour battery, which will be the 155 hybrid engine. First time it's being used here. And as I mentioned, a 4x4 version if you like taking this not fully off-road, but certainly a vehicle that will go off the beaten track, which is how Dacia have described it. Again, these kind of Y signature makes it into the rear. This higher spec version has this little strip along the back, more of that speckled material. It does look like someone's been painting in your neighbours and there's been a bit of a windy day. Modular roof rails, as often is the case with Dacia. If you're an outdoors person, again, depending on different trim versions, you can actually put a tent box up onto this. You can put a mattress in the back. It's all part of a tent pack. And essentially then you could take this thing off-road, off the grid, would you have some battery way of using it. One thing that I do think that they're missing is there's no vehicle to load on it, which would be brilliant for using certain aspects of camping. Different tyre brands on a couple of the different cars today. So these ones are Continental. There's Michelin in a car inside, which has a new Dacia colour, which you can see here, and that's a brand new colour. It's quite a nice colour, like a dark navy, but some people will just prefer the grey. Still a really popular colour in Ireland. It's amongst the top 3 year after year, so that's why I picked the grey car for you to have a look at today. So as always, do let me know what you think of the car in the comments down below. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Give it a like, all that stuff. Trust me, it helps. Let's check out the massive boot in the Bigster. So this car has a lift tailgate. You can now get an electric tailgate in a Dacia. I know. Now, in true Dacia style, they've used it with one motor. Most electric tailgates have 2, so they said we want one motor to save on cost. Down here then you have a removable, and actually you can roll this up, plastic mat or rubber mat, just to, if you're going to transport things that are not the cleanest and you want to keep your new car clean, and then you can roll this up or just take it away. And then under the boot you get a space saver wheel. There's no gunk, and haven't seen this before in a Dacia, but you have a flexible parcel shelf, so you can kind of mold this around bikes and buggies and just the things that family life comes with. So as well as that, you have 12-volt charging option. You can drop the rear seats with this handle. There's shopping hook holders and the Y-clip, which is basically Dacia's way of clipping on accessories into the car. Phone holders, torches, shopping bags. There's 5 of these throughout the car, and they're pretty useful. So a 667 litre boot, which really is great for all the family, and it does make you think of a certain 5-letter brand from the Czech Republic, beginning with S, who many years ago were a more affordable product. They have grown with their customer base, they have increased in price, and it feels Dacia are now kind of swooping into that space. Access to fuel is on this side of the car. What else is interesting is it's the first time in the world that an LPG fuel system has been twinned with mild hybrid. And again, that's something that Dacia have used in their cars for the last few years. Not necessarily something that's huge in Ireland. There's very few LPG stations, but it means if you're in countries like Germany, you fill that up and get a huge range depending on where your journeys take you. So again, it's just another option and a multi-fuel option in this vehicle. So there's an etching of the Bigster here, and there's QR codes for emergency response vehicles. If there's an accident, they can scan this code and find out more details about the fuel situation in the car. We now, on certain trims, get black high gloss A-pillars. Now, looking already at this car, there's a lot of scratches in this, so same with the black roof. You want to be careful how you wash this car, because if you use brush washes, yeah, it's going to get scraped. Now, you do not missee things here. That is a panoramic glass roof. And again, something we haven't seen in a Dacia before. But what is interesting about this car is this is competing with the Volkswagen Tiguan, Nissan Qashqai, any of those C-segment SUV cars. And it feels like Dacia are well aware that there's so many great cars in that segment. They had to make sure this was good, but also had to make sure it had a few extras that we haven't seen in the Dacia range before. So they've built this car with the competition in mind, but then they're still hyper-focused on price. The way it was explained to us today at the presentation, unlike most car brands, they go to designers, engineers and say, this is what we want. And then the price is kind of added up as things are put together. Dacia do it differently. The price is set from the start, and they go to the design teams and engineers and suppliers and say, we want to sell a car in Europe from €25,000. What can we put into it? So it's kind of turned on its head on how the cost process is achieved. It is kind of weird that we have such severe plastic mixed in with tinted glass and more black high gloss here with the spoiler, and Bigster here, more of that recycled materials. Just to give you an idea, actually, just while we're here, of the angles of the car. So sort of straight down, sticks out, juts out a little bit here. And yeah, it's not a bad rear quarter as this style of car goes. The more you see copper in this car, and here's some that's stitched into the seats here, you do think of Cupra. The same with the kind of different colors going on with the seats here. So they're all similar textures, but just the option of contrast is very welcome. Now let me show you. So you still get feelings of, you know, where they've definitely made this a cost-focused car. You know, this trim has a bit of give in it, but that houses a panoramic glass roof that does open and will be very welcome for rear passengers, because it just gives you a bit more sense of space in the vehicle, less claustrophobic, and it's a good sized roof that actually opens, which again today can actually be quite rare. This is how the armrest works. If you're not using this central seat, you pull this down. Now it does mean that the boot is constantly exposed and you might get things falling through here. It's not fully flat. Armrest, a couple of holders for devices in here, decent sized drinks holders, and then if you do need your third seat in the back, that clips away. Decent space under here then, so plenty of room for your feet. Got some pockets on the back of the seats here, and there's supposedly 24 centimeters of extra knee room in the back of this car, so space is a big priority. Not quite a right angle here in terms of how the door opens for getting seats and baby seats and stuff in, but there is still quite a nice aperture here, so getting things in should be made pretty easy. And in all the literature about the vehicle, it's space, 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 more space, bigger than the Duster. It's in some ways a bigger Duster. That's another way of thinking of where does the Bigster slot in to the overall hierarchy of Dacia models. More air vents here. No, you can't get your own climate control back here. Behave yourself. More U-clip accessory hooks here. So if you don't get all of them with your particular trim, you can order additional ones from your Dacia dealer, which is cool. 2 USB-C charging ports in the back, and it's not a fully flat floor, but it's as good as. So middle row passenger still gets somewhere to stick their feet. It just depends, obviously, how big the human is. And then for rear doors, yeah, it's hard plastic, but durable and certainly very wipeable. Space down here, not for a huge bottle or anything like that, but there is kind of that much of a gap for keeping items, smaller items in here. Here is the front view then from the rear of the car. You do sit a little bit higher on this rear seat, so you sort of look down. It's the first time they've raised the dashboard so high in a Dacia passenger car, so it again gives you more space for knees and legs down here. We'll check out the front now in more detail. Again, more of the Y. Once you start seeing it, you see it everywhere. Again, nice that it's broken up. A bit more space in the driver and passenger area, in the door bins. This is a little bit wipeable, durable. It's still not soft and squishy. Same here. Can you believe it? We have like the Dacia logo etched into seats. We have, I mean, these are almost bolsters, you know. These are very, very comfortable looking seats. We have an electric adjustable on certain trims for the driver. I mean, come on. Manual on this side of the car. This is the torch. Things just twist off like that. It's easy to do and easy to reattach. So it's a lovely, clever system actually. The highest spec trim will get copper inserts. Again, another Y in the air vents and different tone colors here. A 10-inch screen, complete with reversing camera, CarPlay, Android. We really are being spoiled here, Ambassador. So in this car you have heated seats, heated steering wheel. It's quite a leap from what we've known just even maybe 10 years ago. Inside the Bigster then, it still feels very roomy. We're now talking about laminated glass in the windscreen. They've insulated the wheel arches, so inside the car should be a lot quieter than we're used to. GSR2 is obviously something here that's not going anywhere in terms of EU regs, and again you can have one click of a button here, you can personalize the fact that your speed sign beeps don't come on every time you start up the car. No matter what version you've gone for, fuel wise, they'll all start in electric mode when you start up the car, so it should be quieter getting away in the mornings, for example. Your neighbors will thank you for it. There's still the phone holder that can be twisted here, a little tray here for keeping personal items. This one is in a manual 6-speed box. The 155 will be automatic, so again more relaxing to drive. There's different modes including snow and mud, and Dacia's steering wheel is pretty much what we've seen in other vehicles so far. A flat top and flat bottom steering wheel, good place to stick your armrest. Again, certain trims will have a fridge, a chill unit under here if you like to keep your drinks cold. And I just love how the car is so modular, and depending on how much you want to spend, if you want the entry level, they reckon it will be from €25,000 for the full ICE version, from €30,000 for the hybrid version in Europe, about 20 sterling if you're watching this in the UK. Irish prices haven't been revealed yet, as have really prices anywhere just yet. I'd imagine for the highest spec, you're probably close on 40 grand, but maybe with the European price of €30,000, maybe 33 starting from in Ireland, which is still a very acceptable price for a car of this size. You have to remember, this is competing with the Volkswagen Tiguan, the Opel Grandland, the new version of that that's coming. There's quite a lot of cars in this segment, and this will no doubt be the cheapest with so much packed in. And again, a bit like that brand I mentioned a little earlier, people once upon a time were quite snobby about it. If there's any snobs left when it comes to Dacia, we kind of have to move on from that because they're not the cars that you might think they are. This 10-inch screen is capable of getting real-time traffic information. It will get map updates for 8 years, which should definitely have you covered. And the Media Nav Live comes with a 6-speaker 3D sound system. Not that long ago, you might have only had a radio tuner in the driver instruments in this brand. The Sandero was one of those cars. Again, it's another sign of how far Dacia have come. These physical buttons are straight out of any of the most modern Renault cars that you can buy today, and for the first time, dual zone climate control in a Dacia. They have gone so posh. Extra storage for a shelf in here, so even the iPhone 15 fits comfortably snug in there. Keep you out of trouble when you're driving. 2 USB-C charging points, a little bit more space here. This is the controller wheel for your different modes, including hill descent, which works up to 30 kilometers an hour, including in reverse. And that's particularly handy if you're going to take this vehicle off-road, because it means there's a lot more stability when you're going down or up large hills. The Bigster is also a little bit longer in terms of the wheelbase compared to the Duster, so a little bit more space between the front and the back wheel. Towing capacity of up to 1,000 kilos. If you do have a small caravan, things like that, you'll be able to tow, or just using it for a trailer, for moving stuff, towing a small boat. All outdoor adventure things that you'll be able to do with the new Bigster. So for me, the hybrid 155 is probably the one I'd be likely to go for. It's got a 4-cylinder engine, still quite a low brake horsepower, but decent enough levels of torque. Obviously complemented by that onboard battery, which you never charge, it just tops up from the petrol engine. Should run for about 80% of its time, particularly in urban environments, in EV mode. So there's huge promises from Dacia in terms of how fuel efficient this car should be. They've made it lighter than the competition, less weight, less fuel usage. Should also result in a better ride, because there's nothing worse than a really heavy car trying to float with suspensions doing its best, and can make for quite an uncomfortable ride, particularly in the back. It won't be available in Ireland until the second quarter of 2025. As soon as we get price details, we will of course let you know. So let me know what you think. Is it kind of a car that has maybe broadened your mind for Dacia? Is it a car that maybe has made you think twice about them as a serious brand, a serious offering, particularly now that they're in this C SUV segment, which is selling, by the way, because people are saying, why are people constantly buying these cars? 2.8 million C SUV segment vehicles being sold every single year in Europe. Is it a trend that will continue forever? I have no idea, but at the moment it is a huge part of the customer process and models that they want. So why wouldn't Dacia capitalize on that as well, with possibly the most affordable and most modular option available in the segment. Thank you for coming with me this far in the video. Please do consider subscribing to the channel if you've liked what you've seen so far, and hitting like on the video. And as always, I love having a little community below of people chatting away about the cars. So any thoughts you have on it, please do feel free to comment below. I'll talk to you in the next one.